What's up guys, it's Nicole, also known as Nikki Vegan, and in today's video I'm going to show you some easy and healthy meal prep recipes that you can add into your fall routine. First up, I've got my stovetop frittata that is packed with veggies and lots of plant-based protein, and I like to serve this as either a breakfast or lunch item throughout the week. Then I've got my zucchini bread recipe, which is honestly so delicious, and I know sometimes it seems weird when you hear zucchini bread, like, is that gonna taste like vegetables? You guys, this recipe will blow your mind. I can't stop snacking on it, so I know you guys are gonna love it as well. And finally, I'm gonna show you my cleaning out the fridge chili, which is basically my go-to staple chili recipe. And then I throw in some different things each time I make it to, one, make sure that I'm using all of the random veggies I have in the fridge that I don't want to go to waste, and also kind of changing up the spices to make it a little different and more interesting. So if all that sounds good to you, then just keep watching. So we're gonna start with this stovetop vegan frittata, and this is great because it is a high protein, egg-free alternative for those of you who love savory breakfast, and it's also a great way to use up any veggies you may have hanging around in the fridge. For me, this was some onion, zucchini, and some tomatoes that I really needed to use up. So I started with the onion because that takes the longest, and then I added my zucchini, and I just let this saute for a couple minutes with some salt and some garlic powder. You want to cook the veggies first so that all of the moisture that's inside will cook out so that you have a really nice, thick, creamy filling and it doesn't get too watery. Now to make the filling, I'm just going to throw everything into a blender. I have some tofu, which is going to be the base, and then basically all the same seasonings that would go into tofu scramble. So we've got our nutritional yeast, we have some turmeric, some garlic powder, a little bit of salt, and a little paprika. I just add a little bit of baking powder because eggs would naturally kind of puff up when they cook. So this is going to mimic that, and a little bit of olive oil for creaminess. And then I just blend this until it's nice and smooth. And I'm just gonna go ahead and pour this on top of the veggies. Now, when I used to have frittatas before I was vegan, I loved putting cheese on top. So now that I'm vegan, I still love putting cheese on top. I'm just gonna use a vegan cheese. You can cook those cherry tomatoes down with the other veggies if you like, but I actually really like using them as kind of a decoration on top. I think it makes it look really beautiful. And normally you would put a frittata into the oven, but since it's so hot, I wanted to come up with a kind of stovetop version that didn't require turning the oven on. And so all I do is I turn the heat down to low, I cover this, and it takes about 20 minutes on the stove on low heat, and it gets nice and puffed up. I like to top it with a little bit of fresh herbs and some black pepper, and this is so delicious. And why it's a great meal prep recipe is because it is really easy to double or triple the recipe and keep it on hand for easy lunches like this one. This was my lunch the other day. I just made some avocado toast. I put the frittata on top with some ketchup, and it was so good and very filling because it's mostly lots of fiber, lots of plant-based protein, and lots of veggies. Another item I like to meal prep is this zucchini bread. It makes a really delicious and cozy breakfast for morning times, but it's also a really nice snack or even dessert with some Netflix later on in the day. I'm gonna go ahead and start just by making the flax egg. This is really easy. It's just ground flaxseed and water. I'm gonna stir that and set it aside to thicken. Next, I'm going to move on to my dry ingredients, and this is where it's already going to start smelling so good because we're mixing together some flour, some baking powder, a little salt, and then comes the cinnamon and the nutmeg, which when you start mixing this all together, oh, it smells so good. For the wet ingredients, I'm just going to combine some sugar, some coconut oil, and then a secret ingredient, which is rice vinegar. Now, I know this sounds really weird, and I promise it's not going to taste like vinegar, but there's actually some cool science here. So what happens is when you mix an acid like vinegar with baking soda, it again creates a lift. It kind of reacts and it makes air bubbles, and that way you're going to get a nice texture in your baked goods. So I added that along with the ground flax seeds, and this is where you really want to beat it and whip it so it gets nice and light and fluffy. Then I added my zucchini and my dry ingredients, and at this point you don't want to overmix it. It can be really tempting to like beat it really hard or for a really long time so that it's really well mixed, but that's actually not what you want to do here because what will happen is it will become really tough and doughy. So just mix until it's well combined and then stir in your pecans. You can use walnuts if you like. You can also add some chocolate chips or some raisins, but oh, I love that crunch. And I wish you guys could smell this. Like, I wish this was a candle because it is absolutely divine. And I know you see little flecks of zucchini in there, but do not worry, you are not going to taste it at all. It kind of just gives the zucchini bread a really nice moisture, the way banana bread kind of has that. And then we have that spiciness that's a little bit like pumpkin bread. But it is its own thing. You have to try it. It is so delicious, and it's great with a little bit of butter and some sea salt on top, vegan butter, of course, or some almond butter, or I like cream cheese too. Vegan cream cheese like tofutti is so good on top. Now this freezes really well, which is another reason why it's a great meal prep recipe. I like to let it cool completely, slice it, and then I can freeze it and then just kind of reheat it as I like, which is great. So as I mentioned, I'm first going to show you, this is actually some old footage of a chili recipe that I have on this channel, but this is like my go-to chili recipe that I make all the time. And after I show you this, then I'm going to show you how I kind of changed it up on this day that I was meal prepping. So to start, I always start with some kind of vegan sausage. Sometimes I will do like meatballs or vegan ground beef, or I'll just leave it out, but I really love the heartiness that it gives it, and also lots of flavor because the vegan sausage is going to have like fennel and garlic and great spices, so it's really nice to start with that. And then I add in my onions and garlic, and then I like to use a chili seasoning packet. It's basically a mix of chili powder, some cumin, some salt and pepper, and sometimes it'll have a little bit of oregano and cloves, but I like using a packet because it's all pre-mixed and ready to go. I'm just gonna let this cook, and I'm gonna let the spices kind of come back to life with the heat. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add in a can of diced tomatoes. Then I add a can of black beans, 1 can of kidney beans, 1 can of lentils, and 1 cup of frozen corn. Then I add in a half a cup of water and some salt and pepper, and this is just gonna cook. It really doesn't need to cook for very long because everything is cooked already, but I find that it gets even better as it kind of sits and simmers. And that is like the basic chili recipe that I make all the time. Now on this day, I basically made this exact same version, but while I was cooking down the onions and the garlic, I also added some more zucchini because I had a lot from when I was making the zucchini bread earlier. The zucchini kind of cooks down and it takes on all the flavors of the spices from the chili, so it's a great way to sneak in veggies. Then the spice mix that I used actually didn't have any smokiness, and I really wanted that this time, so I added some smoked paprika, and finally I added some frozen cauliflower. Now, one of the things I love about chili is just how homey and cozy it is. So my favorite way to serve it when I'm making this for friends and family is just to put the pot in the center of the table and set out bowls so everyone can kind of help themselves. And then I like to have little bowls with toppings, like with vegan cheese and vegan sour cream and maybe some onions or some herbs or some tortilla chips or something. And that way everyone can kind of make their own, and it just feels really casual and really inviting, and there's just something homey about that. So that's usually what I do. But also, I love this recipe for meal prep because one, it holds up really well in the fridge. It's actually better the next day, so I love that. But it also freezes really well. So a lot of times I will keep half of this in the fridge and then I will freeze the other half for a rainy day or a lazy day, and I'm always so glad that I did. You can also use the leftovers to make like a chili mac and cheese or to stuff into baked potatoes. It's super versatile, and just knowing I have this on hand just makes me feel a lot more relaxed about life. Comment below and let me know which one of these recipes you're most excited to try first. And again, all the recipes are going to be in the description box below, as well as a printable PDF, so you can easily just print that out and hang it up on your refrigerator while you're making the recipe. Or what I like to do is to keep printed recipes from different websites in a folder, and I'll pull that out when I'm going to be going to the grocery store or when I'm meal planning for the week, and that way I can easily see what I need and just kind of transfer it from that sheet of paper to my grocery list, and it's super, super easy. So check out the description box, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you never miss a future video, and I will see you guys in a video very soon. Bye!